Welcome to Pep Talks with Jeannie. I'm your host, Jeannie Pepper. I started doing Pep Talks as a way to inspire you to do intentional acts of kindness and to further the goals of #BlazeItForward. Since its inception, Pep Talks has evolved, and now I use it to interview people actively making a difference in this world through their volunteerism, community service, or careers. My guests are all here because they have dedicated their lives to making this world a better place. Join us as we delve into the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of these truly inspiring and hardworking people. This season, we will be using a panel format in some of our episodes to bring together synergistic guests to discuss topics that weave the social fabric of the world around us. Welcome to another episode of Pep Talks with Jeannie. My guest today is none other than the producer of Pep Talks, Eli Moskowitz. Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here as always.
Yeah, I love having you come in as we're finishing up all the editing, all of the behind the scenes things that we do here at Pep Talks to finish up our season, and to have you come in and just talk about, what the things were that captured you, made you think a little bit. Maybe there's something that our listeners could learn from you and go back and listen to some of the episodes that we did this season. This is one of our longest. This is our longest of the 2 seasons. We made over 30 episodes this season.
Even had to leave a few of them out. We had so many people that wanted to participate that we couldn't use everything that we shot. At some point, we had to just say, okay, this is the end of season 2. But don't worry, we'll be back for more.
Yeah. We not only had more episodes this season, but we continued to find, I think, people that really had some great stories to tell. These weren't just people that I was asking to come on because, we were trying to get the show started. These are people that are real activists that are actively trying to change the world here.
Well, that's who you've chosen to surround yourself with. And everybody sees the work that you've been doing, the way that you've been trying to put good content out there using this podcast to combat all of the negative content that we all see every day during our doom scrolling. This is a breath of fresh air. But instead of you asking questions, I've got a couple of questions for you.
All right.
So, looking back at season 2, what was something surprising and unexpected that you took away from all of your different conversations?
Oh, gosh. There were so many interesting conversations. I have to say that it was more about what were some of the more unique things that happened this season for me. And one of the really unique things that happened was somebody came up to me at a Blaze It Forward event that we did where we were cleaning up the park in Foothill Ranch. And they told me that they wrote a song about Blaze. And Will Minton, who wrote that song, was so earnest when he came up to me that day to tell me about this song. I knew I had to hear this song. I did not know how good it would be. I did not know that he would come into the studio with Jay Christ and create the most incredible musical experience for me I think I've ever had. I mean, to have somebody write a song so meaningful and then come to my home studio and play it for us was really a highlight for me of this season, I think. So shout out to Will Minton.
Yeah. That was a fun episode, getting to have live performance, not just, you see that a lot of the people you bring in, they talk about the things they do and try and share with the audience so that other people will be inspired and they'll join in as well.
Yeah.
Having somebody come in and perform for you something that they wrote, that was a special episode. And to anybody who hasn't watched and or listened to that one, I really encourage you to go take a listen. There's a whole episode all about Jay's backstory, Will's backstory, and even if you don't take the time to listen to the whole episode, at least take a few minutes to listen to the song that they created, because it's really something special.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you what was something that you took away from this season? Was there like something that sticks out in your mind that
You know, it's kind of the same thing that I took away from last season. There's a lot of great people in this world, and not everybody puts themselves out there with self promotion for the good things they're doing. So it's nice to have somebody who knows the good things they're doing, encourage them to come on, share their stories, share their passions, and hopefully somebody out there, one of your listeners, one of your watchers, something will resonate with them. And that's to me blazing it forward. You do something good, and you do it with and for other people, and others see that and they join in.
Yeah, I think you nailed it for me when you said that these people don't always toot their own horn. They do these things sometimes, they're never really recognized. I mean, there might be a lot of people that are aware of them through their organization work that they do. But they, as people, aren't often given the opportunity to talk about their backstory, or what it is that brought them to doing the good things that they're doing. Like a great example for me would be Soraya Mire, who came in to talk about her activism, which is huge. And she wrote a great book too. If you haven't read it, The Girl with Three Legs. And I read the book and was so inspired by that book that I could not wait to have her into the studio to talk about it. And in having her here, I realized that, the power of one. This is one person who grew up in Somalia, very difficult childhood. And you have to read the book to find out what all the challenges were, or listen to the episode. But the point being is that she overcame significant challenges and came to the United States and has changed the world. She has changed the laws in every state in the United States. We do not allow female genital mutilation anymore. And there are now 26 countries that don't allow it because of her work. And there's still a lot more to go. And she continues to keep her story out there. She's working on the movie of the book now. So I hope that when that finishes, that we know about it and get to go see it right away, because I'm sure it's going to be as amazing as she is, truly. But yeah, there's a lot of hope that this kind of good news gives me, and that's why I really wanted to create this podcast to show the world that there's good going on. It's not all bad. Like, we hear all this terrible stuff all day long. Even like on our social media, it's just full of unpleasant, things. And why can't we just focus on the good in the world and
Well, that's what we do here at PeppTalks with Jeannie. And
that's right.
Talking to all these different people throughout the season, were there any new buzzwords that you picked up that you're going to carry forward with you?
Oh, buzzwords. That's interesting. I can't really think of anything like off the top of my head. Do you? Can you think of something?
Upstander.
Oh, that is great. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we had one of our last guests that we had here recently, Braden Weirschmidt. He is 13 years old, just had his bar mitzvah. I was so impressed with this young man. He raised money for the Blaise Bernstein Memorial Fund through his philanthropic efforts as a 13-year-old. I mean, this kid is really something. He took them to children, had them pay a small amount of money to be able to paint these rocks. He took the rocks to the park where my son's rock memorial garden is in Foothill Ranch, and placed them there. So he gifted those to the park, and he has created a slideshow about being an upstander. Like, what's the difference between being an upstander and a bystander? And, we all know what a bystander is because that's most of us most of the time. But, you don't have to just be somebody that watches what's going on. You can actually get involved. And that's like kind of his point. And he learned about it because he was bullied a lot. And he learned that in order to stop bullying, we have to be upstanders. We have to stand up to bullies.
This day and age, it's hard to pick one thing to stand up for sometimes because there's so many different things that you get. Oh, what is it that you call it? Outrage fatigue.
Yeah.
And after a while, it seems like there's so many problems that are so big, you don't do anything because there's no way to move the needle on everything. When you hit that point this year, you didn't know which way to turn, and then you had something cross your path, and just like your friend Soraya, you were an army of one to start out with. You saw a bill that was coming through the assembly that would have given prisoners without the possibility of parole sentences the possibility of parole. And that was unacceptable to you. And so you took all of the outrage that you'd been feeling for all of the different things, and you chose one topic.
Yeah.
You chose to focus your efforts to move the needle on one thing. And you did. It was amazing to watch. You rallied your troops around you. You contacted senators and assembly people. You made a change.
Well, it wasn't all me. I'm going to put that out there because there are a lot of great people that have been working on defeating bills like Senate Bill 672, the Youth Offenders and Rehabilitation Act, which I am not a big fan of. In fact, I hate this bill so much that I will do everything in my power until the day I die to make sure that bills like this never become law in the state of California. Why? Because anybody that's listened to this podcast for any length of time understands that the reason I became an activist is because my son was murdered. And he was murdered because there's so much hate in this world. And I wanted to make a difference. And I thought with my husband at the time, Gideon, that we could change things if we encouraged people to do kind acts. And I think we are. I think we are getting there. But in terms of letting prisoners out early who have been given life without possibility of parole sentences, I am not a fan of that because of the 1,600 that are in prison right now, one of them killed my son. And when we finished the trial last year in July of 2024, I was told that he would be staying in prison forever. I would not have to attend parole board, parole board meetings with him to explain to a parole board why I think that this person cannot be rehabilitated because of the malice that they have shown, because of the evil that they possessed that brought them to this place. And there was absolutely no remorse either that I saw. And that means a lot to me. But there are also another 1,599 families that will have to deal with this same trauma if this bill, or a bill like this would pass. And I put victims' rights ahead of people that murder every day, no matter what. I will always put a victim's family first because I am one. It's important to me. But you remember, too, that everyone here is a victim of these crimes. We're all a victim of hate. When one person is victimized because of hate, we all live in fear. Maybe someone will hate us one day. Is that going to be okay? Are we going to lower sentences on this because it becomes so commonplace? I sure hope not.
Well, having accomplished that change yourself and given all of the stories that you listened to from your guests all season, if you could give a pep talk to your listeners, what's something that you want them to carry forward from this season until we're back for season 3?
Well, given the range of guests that we had this season, I mean, think about all the different incredible organizations that came in to speak. We had Orangewood, got Chris Simonson in very recently. We had CASA here. We had Reagan Phillips and Erica Peterson from CASA, court-appointed special advocates who do those really necessary volunteer jobs of being court-appointed special advocates for children. One of the things I've noticed are the guests that really touch me the most sometimes are the ones that have been deeply affected by a social problem and have taken that that emotion that from how they've been treated by society, and they're doing something to make positive change in this world. And a great example would be Kanan Durham from Pride at the Pier. And this organization is one that seeks to make sure that people in the LGBTQ community in a particular city, Huntington Beach, which has not wanted to allow them to display their flag, they have one of the largest pride flags in the world that they put on the pier. They do it once a year for Pride, and they want to be able to have the right to do that. That's important to them, because in Huntington Beach, they don't want to be invisible. And Kanan felt that way, like they were being forced to be invisible. And I like the fact that Kanan took that outrage and did something with it.
Well, it is Pride Month right now. You were even asked to speak at the Mission Viejo Pride. You had people coming up to you and telling you that they knew your story. Still, it resonates with people that have been following you. They see the good work you're doing. They see that Blaze It Forward is still trying to make a positive impact in this world, and PeppTalks is doing its part too. There are those out there who just they see other people doing good. It inspires them to do it as well. And honestly, if that's the kind of ripple effect that we have from PeppTalks, I'd consider this a successful endeavor.
I think so. And I like the fact also that we were able to get out of the studio a bit thanks to your producer skills. You were able to get us outside for a Radiant Healthcare. Well, actually, that's not true. You were able to get us outside for the Radiance event that we did in the fall.
Yeah, we had a healing event where we brought a bunch of people together to talk about healing from trauma, as well as have a sound bath that allowed everybody to get into the same frame of mind and get into that healing phase.
Yeah. And we went to Working Wardrobes and we went on a tour with Bonnie Pumish.
We did. We got out and got off your seat, and
yes,
even Bonnie put you up on her podcast as well.
That's right.
We had her in studio,
Yeah.
There's all kinds of fun things that can be done. And maybe for season 3, we'll actually have some helpers so we can do a little bit more. Maybe a sponsor or two will be kind enough to us so that we can have a staff, so that it's more than just a passion project. But for being a passion project, we have over 50 episodes now.
Yeah, we do.
That's
I'm
a
really,
lot
I'm really
of
proud.
Positive content for people to enjoy, whether they listen to a few minutes of it, they listen to the whole thing. I'm excited that we were able to put out so many episodes of people talking about great things. Were there any specific moments, an aha, or something that really surprised you during this season?
I had a couple that I can just think of like that. And one of them is when we had Michael Octor here from Men Alive. This is the OC Gay Men's Chorus. And he brought with him their executive director, Valerie Ousley. Now, Usually we will have a director bring or come with the volunteer board members, or we'll have them come with maybe the person, their lieutenant, who carries out and gets things done so we can learn more about the organization. Well, in this case, Valerie came on and she became extremely fascinating to me because we learned that she has a son that's been blind since birth. And he came out when he was a young adult. And that became very interesting to me anyway, because I was really curious, like, how does he get along in this world? And how did he know he was gay? Like, how does he know who he loves if he can't see them? So it was really eye-opening for me to have the opportunity to speak to a parent who was having to deal with this and all of those issues. I just thought it was really, really fascinating. So that was a fun one. Another one that was surprising was when we were working with a deaf interview that we did, which was Jojo Sevilla. And I've never really tried to communicate with someone like in a real deep conversation that was deaf before. And that was really interesting for me to actually have to use her sign language interpreter to understand her, even though she speaks beautifully. It was, I had to learn how to speak to her so that I didn't walk over him when he was trying to communicate back to her for me. So, it took a little getting used to.
It sounds a little different because your speech pattern's a little off. I feel like you were trying to talk a little bit slower so that the interpreter had a chance to translate for you, but then sometimes you'd look at the interpreter as he was signing on the Zoom call, and it would distract you a little bit, and it would bring it back and forth. So it was a unique one for me to edit for sure.
Yeah, that was really different and fun, and she's got such a great personality. It's a great episode. I think if you're curious about the deaf world and virtue signaling, like what are the things that tick off deaf people when we do them as a hearing world,
Yeah.
So because you don't really think about that, and there are a lot of people that don't really stick out, but they're part of our world here, and they kind of, I think a lot of these people, they're marginalized. They're not given like a full seat at the table because there are so few of them, and they're not always seen. So I liked the opportunity of having those people here and being able to really see them. And I'm so curious about people and why they do the things they do, and how do they deal with having the whole world misunderstand them or not understand them very well.
Well, as you've learned from some of your own guests,
Yeah.
they take that trauma, that experience, whatever their origin story is, and at least the ones that we've had on this show have turned it into something as positive as they could.
Yeah, so true. Like Tara Newell was on our show this season, and she's become a friend of mine. We are both podcasting. We are both survivors of true crime. Unfortunately, Tara is the subject of a LA Times podcast that was named Dirty John. And Tara went on to become a crime victim advocate because she saw how crime victims are treated by the media, and it's not always good. So I am also very sensitive to that because, the media has been very good to us in the sense that it's given us the opportunity to tell people about Blaze and what happened, and to alert the public about the dangers of hate, and to be able to do this podcast. It gave me a platform. So I'm very grateful to the media that we worked with. And we also worked with some very good people in media. In fact, so good that GLAAD Media Awards gave 48 Hours. Tracy Smith was the correspondent on our episode, Best in Long Journalism at the GLAAD Media Awards this year. And that was a big, exciting moment for me.
Having the trial between the seasons, coming into this season with the trial behind you, the verdict, and then in the middle of the season having the sentencing and seeing the stories that had all been waiting for that moment to come out, like the 2020 and the 48 hours that have sent so many more people rushing to the Blaze It Forward Facebook group to learn about Blaze after they've seen these shows. It shows you the power of media. And even when they're talking about something negative, it shows you how much we want to talk to each other. We want to hear each other's stories. And that's part of what you're doing here. You're helping people share their stories. And almost all of them now are positive. It's again, may have started with a negative origin story, but they've all turned it around somehow, and they've brought themselves full circle to a place where they've been introduced to you, or, a connection through a connection, because they've done something positive.
Yeah.
And we brought them on your show to talk about it.
One of the guests that we had this season that was very timely, he reached out to me, Jeffrey Solomon, playwright, producer, the principal at Houses on the Moon Playhouse in New York, where they create media stories that are about social interest. And the particular one that I'm talking about is a podcast he created called De Novo. And it is about the story of a young man who came here from El Salvador to be with his mother and to get out of the gang life that he had in El Salvador, and unfortunately ended up in a detention center in Colorado, and eventually was deported back to El Salvador, where he was killed within a couple of weeks of returning there by that gang. So, I mean, these stories are stories that if we could just learn from them, there's so much we could do to help people. And I so wish that Jeffrey's De Novo story could be, could reach everyone, so that everybody could understand like what really happens when someone is put into a deportation center. When a 16-year-old is put into a deportation center, doesn't have family, doesn't have support. These are the tragedies. These are real lives. These are people. And we forget that sometimes. They look like, you're looking at hundreds of people at a protest, and you don't see that each individual person there is a person with a life and a family and sometimes children. And they're worried. They're worried about their future, their safety. So, even though I try not to take like big political positions on anything, because I am not really a political person. I'm just a mom and a philanthropist and just somebody that cares. But I just wish that we could solve these immigration problems in a calm and reasonable way, instead of just quickly throwing people out of our country. I know.
These are big, hard issues.
Big, hard ones. And the ones that cause a lot of my outrage fatigue, because there's nothing I can personally do about it other than support people like Jeffrey Solomon, who are also trying to make a difference.
That's how you do your part, is you find somebody who's taken it upon himself or herself to create one of those podcasts, and you help by sharing it with your followers.
Yeah, we boost it.
That's
we amplify
right.
it. That's all we can do.
Sometimes that's exactly what it needs.
I know.
Is they just need a few more listeners, and then a few more listeners after that. Those are those ripple effects.
Yeah.
Where you may be just throwing a tiny stone now, but by the time it reaches 10 people down the road, it's got a voice of a choir behind it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you did with the bill that you helped push down. You started with one voice, and then you gathered a choir around you. And the louder you got, the more the senator listened.
Well, we got really lucky with that one. And
Yes,
and I'm not the only person that cares about this issue. There are other people, other groups that are also working hard on this. Crime Victims United, I've been in touch with them, and I'll be working with them next year.
It's just a way to show that change can also be affected without without protest, without large displays. When you get to the large displays is because something like what you just did failed.
Yeah.
The whole idea is to sit down and work out deals before you get to the point where people feel the need to march in the streets.
Yeah, isn't that true? It's like until things actually impact you, including laws, you're not really, they might not be in your realm of awareness. They
Sometimes.
aren't something that you even know about until it's too late.
Well, the country is rather large, and we have local and federal laws to track and pay attention to. And that's a lot. Even for the people who work in it, it's a lot.
Yeah, no kidding.
Being the average American, you learned about it because you had a Google alert that was set up to send you things that were connected to you. If not for that alert, this bill would have gone through.
It's very possible.
So everybody's got to do their part. If it's doing a podcast, if it's going out collecting signatures, if it's being the one who's doing the research on what bills are out there and alerting people.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a part to play.
Sometimes, we don't really know what our part to play in things is. I mean, I always thought I was just going to be this unremarkable mom living in the suburbs and didn't really think that there was a need or a place for me to get involved. But, I think even though losing Blaze was the worst thing that's ever happened to me, it also got me moving. It made me active. And I have to thank the trauma for that, because the trauma is what got me moving and got me realizing that if you don't like the way this world is, then you have to do something about it. No one's going to do it for you necessarily.
And you do.
Trying. But all of these people, all of the people that we've had on the show, all over 50 that we've had here, are people that are making a difference. They are doing something that is moving the needle. And imagine if we didn't have all of these people and all of these organizations, I don't know what this world would be like. It wouldn't be as good as it is. And we have to be grateful for these small wins that these organizations exist, because there were enough people that believed in the missions of these organizations. There were enough people. And that's what it takes. It's never going to be one voice that's going to change things. Like, I learned that in the first chapter of the book that I was reading about how to change laws. It's never going to be one voice. You always have to have a lot of voices with you, because that's what makes your representatives listen, is when there's more than just one person with their idiosyncratic issue. It always has to be more than one. So you have to find your people. You need to find the people that are doing the things that matter to you. Align yourselves with them and find out what the important issues are and where you need to stand up. Or you can just be unremarkable and let other people take care of everything and just get more and more outraged as the years go on.
That may be other people. That's not you.
No. And I hope that the people that listen to this podcast are people that are looking for something to rally behind. I hope that if they are feeling unremarkable, that they become remarkable by standing up, being an upstander.
Seeing how many people responded to your request for help on the bill, seeing how many people show up every year to help you clean up the rock garden.
Yeah.
You've got people listening. They pay attention. You are preaching to your choir, and I hope your choir grows.
I do too. But I really just want to reach people that are getting so outraged that they need to hear good news. I mean, that was me. I mean, just more and more outraged at the things I was seeing around me. I needed an outlet for it. I needed a place where I could learn from the people that have made a difference, how they dealt with their outrage, how they dealt with their disappointment. And I think hearing their stories, it gives me hope. I hope it gives my listeners hope too.
I know it gives me hope. Ever since we started doing this show, it has been like a positivity bath for me. I sit here while we record the episodes. I sit and listen to it as I go through and edit it. All of these stories, all of these lessons that people have learned get reinforced in me all the time. All of this positivity I've been carrying around with me instead of letting the doom scrolling get to me. I can always reach for a pep talks and have something positive.
Oh, that makes me feel really, really emotional. I hope other people feel that way too, that the work we're doing is meaningful. It gives me meaning, and I hope I can continue to do it.
Well, season 3, hopefully we'll have some sponsors. We'll be able to do some bigger episodes. We'll be able to go out on location a little more and reach a wider audience because we'll be out in public, visible.
Yeah, it would be nice. I mean, I've talked about getting sponsors before for the show. There's only so much you can do with volunteers, and luckily I have you volunteering your time when you're not working.
We've had others help us out over the seasons that have come in when we've had busy days with multiple interviews and helped us with some of the logistics. But, it's a lot for 2 people to do, and we could use the help.
Yeah,
we know that. We know
nice.
We could get bigger, better, and reach more people.
Yeah, it's kind of like I was listening to the telepathy tapes, and they're in their 2nd season now, and she starts off every episode explaining why there's commercials now. Because they're making a much better produced show now.
Season 3 will have commercials then.
Oh, no, I hate commercials, but unfortunately they're necessary if you want to be able to grow your podcast and reach more people.
And we will.
Yeah. Okay. But I hope my audience will still listen.
I'm sure they will.
Great. As we wrap up season 2, I want to thank our volunteer producer, Eli Moskowitz.
You're very welcome. It's been my pleasure to work on this project with you.
Thank you. It is a passion project for both of us, and I want to thank you just for everything that you do behind the scenes that most people have no idea how much work it takes to make 1 hour of this show. The hours of editing.
There's a reason they call it a passion project.
Yeah, you have to love what you're doing to be involved with something like this. So I have to thank you for the high quality content that you have helped me create. And it's not just high quality, it is good news. And that is why we make it, because this is the antidote to all of the outrageous, disappointing, miserable news that you will find on social media that is supposed to make you outraged. So you'll go back to watch more of it the next day. But we are not about that. We are about solutions. We are about people that are coming up with ways to make things better. And if you are one of those people, or you know someone who is, make contact with us because we want them here in the studio. You have all summer to do that because we are not coming back until the fall. That's right. PeppTalks is going on vacation for the summer, but we will be back in the fall with more great content for you. We hope that you will stay tuned, check back with us in the fall, and see what's new with PeppTalks with Jeannie. And until then, keep on doing great things. Give us more things to talk about here. Thank you. Hashtag Blaze It Forward is a campaign my family started in 2018 after our son Blaze was murdered. Hashtag Blaze It Forward provides the inspiration to thousands of people to repair the world with intentional acts of kindness. If you would like to learn more about Blaze and how you can make a difference, check out www.blazebernstein.org or join our Facebook group at hashtag Blaze It Forward. You can also check out my website for this podcast at www.pepptalkswithjeannie.com. There you can follow along with my podcasting adventures and learn more about my fascinating guests and their passion projects. I would like to thank all of the volunteers who help make my philanthropic endeavors a reality. Today, that includes my producer, Eli Moskowitz, all of the volunteer crew members who join us, and a special thank you to my son, Jay Bernstein, for the original theme song you hear at the beginning and ending of each show. This has been another episode of Pep Talks with Jeannie. Until next time, keep on making this world a better place.